Donald Trump just had a disastrous interview with Sean Hannity on state regime media known as Fox. Donald Trump said that his meeting today with Vladimir Putin, which by all accounts was one of the worst meetings in American foreign policy history, Donald Trump says he gives himself a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. He says it was amazing. Here, play this clip.
If you had to grade it on a scale of 1 to 10?
So I think the meeting was a 10 in the sense that we got along great, and it's good when, two big powers get along, especially when they're nuclear powers. We're number one, they're number two in the world.
Then Donald Trump says that his advice to Ukraine is make a deal. Russia is very big and powerful, and you are not Ukraine. So Donald Trump leaves the meeting with Putin saying, you better do a deal, Ukraine, because you're weak compared to Russia. Just Putin talking points. Here, play this clip.
What would your advice, based on today, when you talk to Vladimir Zelensky, what's your advice to...
make a deal.
Make the deal.
Got to make a deal, yeah. Look, Russia's a very big power. And they're not. They're great soldiers, and they have great, but they also had the best equipment. They had our equipment.
Then Donald Trump starts talking to Sean Hannity about how Putin told Donald Trump that the American elections were rigged and that Donald Trump really won the 2020 election. Again, how deranged, delusional, and dangerous is this that Donald Trump is regurgitating these ridiculous lies that Putin is saying to him. And this is what they were talking about at their meeting, these utter lies. Here, play this clip.
Look, you can't run a country that way. Vladimir Putin said something, one of the most interesting things. He said, your election was rigged because you have mail-in voting. He said mail-in voting every election. He said no country has mail-in voting. It's impossible to have mail-in voting and have honest elections. And he said that to me. It was very interesting because we talked about 2020. He said, you won that election by so much. And that's how he got it. He said, and if you would have won, we wouldn't have had a war. You'd have all these millions of people alive now instead of dead. And he said, and you lost it because of mail-in voting. It was a rigged election, but mail-in voting, Sean.
Then Donald Trump is asked, well, you mentioned before that there would be severe consequences on Russia if there was no ceasefire from the meeting that you had. That's what you've been saying all week. So what are these severe consequences? Hannity asks, and Hannity gives some examples of what they could be. Donald Trump says, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we can think about it, but why would we need severe consequences? Because the meeting went so well with Putin, so we don't need to have severe consequences. There doesn't need to be sanctions against Putin. How utterly pathetic is this? Here, play this clip.
I didn't like looking. I was very sad to watch and see.
When you talked before coming here about the consequences for Vladimir Putin being severe, I found that interesting. Severe would be defined by me. India doesn't buy your oil. The European Union won't buy it. And why in the back of my head was I thinking, wait a minute, Donald Trump just delayed possible increase in tariffs on China. Why do I think that probably President Trump was thinking ahead that maybe if you had to, that would have been part of the consequences?
Well, because of what happened today, I think I don't have to think about that. Now, I may have to think about it in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something, but we don't have to think about that right now. I think the meeting went very well.
All right. Did you ever think Hillary?
Then Donald Trump says that if there were another meeting to take place between Russia and Ukraine and Europe, that Trump said, I may show up. I don't necessarily need to even be there at this point. What was the point of today other than to give Vladimir Putin the propaganda victory? Here's what Trump says. Let's play it.
And it was very extensive, and we agreed on a lot of points. I mean, a lot of points were agreed on. But there's not that much. There's, one or two pretty significant items, but I think they can be reached. Now it's really up to President Zelensky to get it done. And I would also say the European nations, they have to get involved a little bit, but it's up to President Zelensky. I think we are, and if they'd like, I'll be at that next meeting. They're going to set up a meeting now between President Zelensky and President Putin. And myself, I guess, I didn't ask you about it. Not that I want to be there, but I want to make sure it gets done. And we have a pretty good chance of getting it done.
Then Donald Trump continues this lie that he brought in $17 trillion from the Middle East, from Qatar and Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, when he's basically brought in no money from them. I mean, the entire GDP of Qatar is $150 billion. The entire GDP of the UAE is like $440 billion. This is all, every word of this is a lie. Play this clip.
And they say it. I was with also the King of Saudi Arabia, the head of Qatar, the head of UAE about 3 months ago now already. The time flies. And they put up $5.1 trillion investment in our country. And we have about $17 trillion coming into our country. The numbers like we've never seen before. And by the way, this is after 6 months. This is this is after 6 months. We never had numbers like that after years.
Then Donald Trump talks about how he negotiated a lot of points on behalf of Ukraine, which wasn't even there. He goes, I think, we negotiated away a lot of the things that relating to Ukraine. Here, play this clip.
By far, there's nothing even close. But we had a very good meeting today, and I think a lot of points were negotiated on behalf of Ukraine and on behalf of the whole NATO situation, where we're dealing very well with a lot of foreign countries that are great, European countries. Look, as far as I'm concerned, there's no deal until there's a deal, but we did make a lot of progress.
The meeting took place in this room.
I don't know, maybe Ukraine should have been there and Europe should have been there, and this wouldn't have been the unmitigated disaster that it was today. But oh yeah, Putin told Donald Trump that Zelensky was not allowed there, and Europe wasn't allowed there because Putin knew exactly what he wanted to do, which was to have this propaganda moment and to show the rest of the world that Russia could outmaneuver the United States. It's so embarrassing. Speaking of so embarrassing, then Donald Trump claims that he's done deals with every country in the world, which he did not. He's done 0 deals. He's made a few fake deals with nothing on paper, nothing in writing that the countries deny have the terms that Trump lies about. But Trump says that he's done deals with every country, which is just quite literally the biggest lie. Play this clip.
Family.
Well, how many countries now have you made trade deals with, and how much is it incoming?
Many of them, and well, basically all of them, because I made along with some great people, as you know them very well. They're on your show, but I made. I would say 12 or 13 of the big ones. In other words, we made the big deals, and the rest we just assign a tariff to. And we do that by gut instinct. We do that by how we're doing generally, how the relationship, and we do it also by deficits. If we're losing a lot of money with a country, you got to pay us a tariff. We got to make it even. We want to balance it out. And I was generous to a lot. Some of them, we lose so much money that, frankly, you'll never make it up. And if there are people that have been great to us as a country, then I take it a little bit easy.
And then I don't even know what he's talking about here. This is another moment where he just kind of cognitively glitches out. He goes, I'm getting calls from people and governments saying, where did I get $29 billion from? I said, I didn't you try the tariff shelf? Didn't you try the tariff shelf? What the hell is he talking about? And then he goes on and says that he's getting all of this money from Europe, which he's not. To play this clip.
I use the power of the United States. We have got the greatest economy now in the world. We have trillions, not billions, trillions of dollars or millions. We have trillions of dollars pouring into our coffers. I'm getting calls from people in government saying, where did I get the $29 billion from? I said, why didn't you try the tariff shelf? And, we have, as an example, the European nations, we made a great deal. They pay us literally trillions of dollars. Japan, so many. And you know what? They like us better. They respect us. They didn't respect us. They were paying us nothing. Nothing. We were paying them. They weren't paying us. And I turned it around, and we're actually a very rich country now. I told you my favorite word is the word tariff. I actually made that a little bit later because I got criticized by the fake news. They said, what about religion? What about family?
Well, how many countries?
Then Donald Trump brags that Vladimir Putin said that Donald Trump has turned the United States so hot, hot like a pistol, Donald Trump says. Here, play this clip.
I love seeing this country be great again. And Vladimir said just a little while ago, he said, I've never seen anybody do so much so fast. He said, your country is like hot as a pistol. And a year ago, he thought it was dead. Everybody thought it was dead.
Then Donald Trump attacks former President Obama and says that Donald Trump gave Ukraine all of these javelins and Obama gave Ukraine nothing. And so then Donald Trump spends time attacking Obama. Play this clip.
And I gave him javelins, if you remember, in my first term. In fact, there was a statement, I gave javelins. You remember the statement? I gave javelins and Obama gave, because it was Obama at that time, Obama gave him sheets. And that's true. I gave javelins, and a lot of tanks were knocked out because of the javelins. The javelins, incredible weapon. It's a tank. You look at this big, powerful tank. It ends up being a ball of metal lying on the ground and burning.
Then Donald Trump is asked, well, what's the thing that you said you couldn't reach an agreement on? Can you share with everybody what that is? Like, what happened today, Donald? Other than Putin mocking you and laughing at you, other than Putin's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, wearing a USSR T-shirt in Alaska and mocking you, what else actually happened today, Donald? Here, play this clip.
Yeah. In your press conference, you talked about a lot of things that you agreed on, and maybe one big issue you don't agree on. Are you prepared to go public with that?
No, I'd rather not. I guess somebody's going to go public with it. They'll figure it out. But no, I don't want to do that. I want to see if we can get it done. You know, it's not a done deal at all. Mm-hmm. And Ukraine has to agree. I mean, President Zelensky has to agree. But it's a terrible war where he's losing a lot, and both of them are. And hopefully it can get completed. That'll be a great achievement for them. Forget about me, for them.
Oh, you'd rather not. That makes a lot of sense. Then Donald Trump attacks California Governor Gavin Newsom, because Gavin Newsom is just completely bullying Donald Trump right now, and it's perfection. Here, play this clip.
It's honest. They send stuff. Some people get 7 ballots. Look at California with that horrible governor they have. He's one of the worst governors in history. He's incompetent. He doesn't know what he's doing. They send out like 38 million ballots. Some people get 5, 6, 7. But Vladimir Putin, smart guy, said you can't have an honest election with mail-in voting. And he said there's not a country in the world that uses it now.
Donald Trump then says that that was a good meeting, even though we know it wasn't. Let's play it.
He would look and see what happened. He would think we're crazy, with the made-up Russia hoax. So we had something very important, and we had a very good meeting today, but we'll see. I mean, it's you have to get a deal. We agreed on a lot of points. I want to see people stop dying in Ukraine, and that's what's happening. We're losing 5, 6, 7,000. They're Russians, mostly Russians, and they're Ukrainian soldiers. There's some people dying in cities and towns where they're trying to blow up missile manufacturers and other things in some cities. I don't know if you know what's going on there, but there are a lot of people dying. And if we can end that war, it would be very good. And
then Donald Trump says that Putin told him that there would never be a war if Donald Trump was in office. You would have given Putin all of Ukraine's land. That's what would have happened. Anyway, play the clip.
But there are a lot of people dying. And if we can end that war, it would be very good. And I was very happy to hear him say if I was president, that war would have never happened.
Mr. President, that was my next question. He said at the joint press conference that and you have said this many, many times, and he confirmed for the world today, that if you were president, this wouldn't have happened. Did any of the specifics come up as to why he said that?
It did. It doesn't matter at this point, but that this war should never have happened. A lot of wars should never have happened.
There you have it, folks. What a disastrous interview. I mean, how utterly humiliating, shameful, humiliating.